Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to day 83 of the Ecom Challenge. So my name is Roberto, and next to me is Darren. And on occasion, you may see someone else hop in to share and to assist you with your questions concerning conversion ads. So today's topic is we're going to be talking about conversion ads. So why don't we jump into it? Just probably want to give people a few more seconds to hop in.
Yeah, let's give some people some time to jump on here, slowly but surely.
And if I didn't say, we're a couple of the entrepreneurs here, and again, there'll be some people jumping in, and we'll scoot out of the way. So if you see a switch of seats, is because we're giving people an opportunity to assist you in answering your questions. Again, my name is Roberto, and next to me is Darren, for starters, and we're entrepreneurs at Techademics, and we're here to help with day 83 of the Ecom Challenge. So we'll give it just another second or two. I see Alex, he's given us a thumbs up. He's liking the content already, and we've just started. So we appreciate everyone's likes and comments and participation. So just another minute or so, then we're going to get started. Okay, if you're just now joining us, hang tight. We're about to get started with day 83 of the Ecom Challenge. I know we still call it the 90-day Ecom Challenge, but it has been extended, so we'll just, if you hear us referring to it as the 90-day Ecom Challenge, just know that it is going longer than that. And as a side note, a lot of people ask, is this content going to be available past the 90-day challenge? And all indications point to yes, this content will remain up and available for everyone to reference past the 90 days. Okay, so
Awesome.
yep.
Yeah, we got people coming in still. But for those of you that are in here now, today we're going to be talking about Facebook conversion ads. We're gonna talk here a little bit at the beginning, and then we're gonna open up for Q&A. So if you do have questions specifically around Facebook ads, and even more specifically around website conversion ads, please feel free to just drop them into the chat box at any time, so we can get to them once we kind of get done with sort of an overview of the Facebook conversion ad. So, do you want to fire it first?
Sure. Let's just bring up a broad, kind of in broad terms, the way we go about promoting our products on Facebook via the different kind of ads. So in order to arrive at placing your ad as a conversion ad, what we'll do is we'll start with a PPE ad, page post engagement. So we're building up our social proof with a PPE ad. And once we're done with that, we move into the website conversion ad. And the first step in that type of campaign, again for conversions, is the view content. Okay, so the view content is a conversion ad. You may, in fact, get some sales from that, and many people do. But its intent is to get, of course, eyeballs to the ad and folks going through your ad, looking at it, and hopefully interacting with it. But its primary intent is to get eyeballs to it, people to spend time on your ad.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and just kind of reiterate what Roberto was saying, is to arrive at the point where you make a decision to switch over to a website conversion ad, you're going to want to we're going to have already run a PPE ad, and we're going to always see a lot of engagement on that ad. The ideal numbers for that are going to be somewhere around 1,000 likes and hopefully in excess of 100 comments and shares. If you get close, that'll suffice. But then you can make the decision to move over to a website conversion ad. That's one strategy. The other one is you can absolutely run them both simultaneously right out of the gate. But like Roberto was saying, website conversion and specifically the view content. I mean, absolutely the goal is to get some sales out of that, but at a bare minimum, we want to see people adding that product to their cart. It's really a stair-step approach to how you move up the ladder as far as the types of ads that you use. So the way that it would normally work is you go from a PPE ad to a conversion ad, which you start at a view content, and then we'll move our way up through an add to cart and purchases. So you're going to want to make sure that you're seeing, once you get to a view content ad, you want to make sure that you're actually seeing purchases, or again, a bare minimum add to cart on that ad. There aren't necessarily any hard and fast numbers on that, but when you're with regard to purchases, I mean, you're still looking at 3-day ads, right? You're still looking at spending $5 a day, and you want to make sure you're seeing results. And again, that can come in the way of add to carts and ideally purchases.
Yeah, and so you mentioned, Darren, about there is no real hard, fast number that you're looking for to go from one website conversion objective to another. But I know that I've heard it said in many circles of training, again, and they always reiterate there's no one hard, fast number, but let's say you get 500 view contents, that would be a very good number to try to go for before moving on to an add to cart, and probably about the same number. Well, actually, how many add to carts would you consider before moving on to a purchase?
I mean, I think the numbers that we've looked at previously, if I'm not mistaken, is around 25 or so. I think that's the same number that you've seen as well.
So yeah, I think those are some good numbers to strive for. Now, again, there could be some variances when you move from one to another. I would go ahead and definitely consider 500 view contents before moving on to the add to cart. And like Darren said, I mean, if you decide to go with a purchase after 10, 15, that falls in line with testing. So what are we saying here? Test, test, test. But do consider that you should have something under your belt in terms of view contents or add to carts before moving on to purchase. Anyhow, let's
Hey, real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hey Dan, what's going on? Good to see you. Dirty, how's it going? Let's see here. You had asked a question here. What's the process? You start with PPE, then do view content for how many days or how many sales before switching to a purchase ad. I mean, the rule of thumb for almost any ad is going to be that 3-day test, $5 a day. And like Roberto was saying, with the view content, you want to see a certain number of views. Ideally, we get that up to about 500 before we can that we move to an add to a cart or purchase. If you do start to see a lot of add to carts, or even you start to get purchases, even just a matter of, depending on what your profit margin is, but if over 3 days maybe you don't have 500 views, but you have 2, 3, 4 sales. If it's profitable or even potentially just break even, that's something that you might consider running. If it's just break even, you might consider running it a little bit longer just to see. If it's profitable, then absolutely, at that point, you're going to want to, you can go straight to a purchase conversion. So hopefully that answers your question. Thanks for the love, Dirty. Appreciate it. Let's see. Hey, Bobby. Let's see here. Dan, yeah, I mean, that's absolutely, we were kind of saying that at the beginning, is you can definitely start from the beginning with a view content ad. I mean, I still would encourage you to do a PPE alongside of it just to get that social proof and to get the engagement, because that's just going to help fuel the view content ad. Let's see here.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Darren said. So, there's 2 ways you can go about it, and that is to run a PPE first for about 3 days, then hop over to a website conversion, view content objective, or as Darren just mentioned, you can run that PPE and view content concurrently, meaning both of them together at the same time. So you can test.
Sturdy had another question here. When you say moving on ads, do you duplicate and run, or do you just modify your WC ad from BC to add to cart, or duplicate and make? Yeah, I would always, well, there's different schools of thought on this, but my own personal opinion is that you would want to duplicate it and then change the objective. So you would go from a view content to a add to cart or purchase, depending on what the results are of the view content app. Is that, yeah, same?
Yeah, absolutely. And then just to clear something up here, if you were to, so when we talk about moving from one objective to another, yeah, absolutely duplicate. Okay, so don't, because if you just say, okay, I'm running a view content, and then you go out and you generate, you put up an add to cart as a separate campaign, you're going to lose the social proof. You're going to confuse the pixel. I mean, you want to carry the data over from the start of your campaign. So if you start with a PPE, you duplicate that, and then now you carry that social proof over to your view content, and then when you decide to duplicate that for an add to cart, it carries over with it all the data you collected thus far, including the social proof. And then when you duplicate that, hopefully your ad does well enough to warrant duplication to purchase conversion. So you get the idea. You want to carry over all that data and all that social proof across the board. And if you must make any changes along the way, for any reasons, just duplicate the ad first, and in the process of setting that up, make your changes while you're setting it up. Don't go back and change targeting on a view content because you feel that you could be getting you should do something different to it, or that your picture isn't just right, or you want to change up the video. Duplicate first, and in the process of setting up, make your changes within while you're setting it up.
Yeah, and along the line, something I want to kind of back up that Roberto just mentioned is, because it's really important, especially if you're starting with a PPE ad first, and then you're getting the social proof, and then you're moving on into a website conversion ad, is you want to duplicate the ad set. When you duplicate the ad set, what's going to happen is, and I would also recommend that you do this within Power Editor, because Power Editor and Ads Manager act a little bit differently. If you do this within Power Editor, you duplicate the ad set, what's going to happen is that it's going to come back and ask you if you want to use the same campaign or if you want to create a new campaign. When you're switching from PPE to website conversion, it's a totally different objective and event, so you need to make sure you create a new campaign on that. But by duplicating the ad set, what you do is exactly what Roberto said. You preserve the existing either page post or dark post and all of the social proof that's been attached to it. So all your likes, your comments, your shares, all of that come with it. So make sure you're doing that properly, because that social proof could definitely work in your favor for purchases going forward. I think we had, let's see, hey Julian, you asked what stats do you look for? There we are. All right. Sorry guys, I don't know if you lost us there, but we were it looked like we got disconnected for a second. Yeah, Julian, you asked what do you look for when you, or what stats do you look for when you first test a product? Well, that comes back to I mean, if you're doing a PPE ad initially, then you're going to want to look for that engagement. You want to look for a good number of likes, shares, and comments on that. You know, we like to push for at least many hundreds, but ideally upwards of 1,000 likes on that, with a good number of comments and shares before you switch over to a website conversion. But again, you can also run them simultaneously and grow that social proof off of both of those ads. So those are the stats as from the PPE perspective to look for. And then what we were saying, to go from a view content website conversion ad up into an add to cart or a purchase event, then what you're going to look for there is, you know, the number of views that you've had, or add to carts, or even purchases before you change the conversion event. So again, I think we said around 500 view content, you know, probably a good, you know, 20, 25 or so add to carts, or even just a handful of purchases, depending on what your profit margin is. As long as you're breaking even, then you could switch from a view content up into a purchase conversion.
Yeah, and here's another thing to consider as well. Even as you duplicate, if you're, say, going from view content to add to cart, do you have to turn off your view content? If it's profitable, then don't turn off. You can keep running it. I wouldn't, and the general rule of thumb is if your ad is profitable, then leave it going. You can take then that view contents information though, as you do a breakdown on it and see where most of your sales are coming from, depending on the age group, the gender, the country, or the device, meaning, like the platform that you're using, whether it be Android or iPhone users, wherever those sales are coming from, you can then kind of target in, hone in on those elements and keep that view content going if it's profitable. Now you're casting two nets into the waters. And again, if your view content is profitable, hey, your add to cart it should stand to reason then if you're targeting better with your add to cart, then your sales will also increase, because
Absolutely.
now you're targeting more specifically the people who are having the most interaction, being the most responsive to your ad. The same can be said for add to cart and then go into purchase.
Absolutely, that's a really, really great point. When you move from one to the other, from the PPE to the conversions, you're going to narrow your targeting down quite a bit. The numbers that we typically use, PPE ads are 1 million to 5 million audience, and then you get into the conversion ads, and now you're looking at somewhere between 200 and 800,000. So there are a number of different ways to narrow that audience. You can kind of take a look, and it's all about the stats, the numbers. I mean, you really need to be analyzing your data. And we've talked about that on other lives, so you can refer back to some of those videos. But as far as the metrics you want to look at, but you can narrow either by device, you can narrow by age group, you can narrow by gender, or countries. You can do even flex targeting or where or intersecting audiences is another way to refer to it, where you take your audience and you narrow it down by bringing in another audience that's related, so that helps target it even more. So that's a really good point, Roberto. Let's see here. Silvio, I think I can answer part of your question here. It says, if your ads account is in euros, does it mean that pixels are set up for euros, for the euro currency? And then also, if I target USA, will it be more difficult to get add to cart, website conversion, or does it really make any difference? The question about the euros, I honestly don't have experience with that. I don't know if you know the answer to that one, but that might be something we have to get back to you on.
I suspect that if your account is set up in Facebook in euros, then it's really. I think it just depends on which region, which part of the world, however you set up your account. That's just how it's going to bill you.
Right.
So if you set up in the U.S., it's going to bill you in dollars. If you set up in Europe, it's going to bill in that currency. So
yeah, and the other thing too is
it makes a difference.
Yeah, what you may want to do too, Sylvia, is we can check on that for you. If you want to just drop a question into the group for us, and we'll get back to you on that specific one. With regard to the add to cart and the website conversion, is it more difficult? One thing to do is if you are set up in euros, and I don't know if this applies to you or not. If this is what your question is if you're asking if it's more difficult to get those if everything is in euros versus dollars, put a currency converter on that store too, so that people can go in there and change it over, and then they can see what it is in dollars here in the U.S. And I'm not sure if that answers your question, but hopefully it does. Let's see, Sammy, how's it going? Let's see, what conversion window should I choose for website conversion optimized for add to cart or purchases? 7 days or 1 day? We use 7 days. Let's see here. I don't know if you had two questions there or not. Website conversion optimized for. Yeah, we use a 7 day versus the 1 day on ours. Vivian, you're very welcome. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, so Vivian, your other question here. you just kind of run a review. By the way, yeah, if you guys need us to clarify anything, just feel free to ask us, and sometimes we go fast, and I'll make sure you understand what you need to do. But can you just go? You do a campaign for PPE, and then you start a new campaign for view content. Yes, you do. But what you're going to make sure you do is after you get done running your PPE, or when you're ready to add the website conversion, the view content ad, you want to duplicate the ad set, the PPE ad set, and you want to do that within Power Editor, and it'll come up, a window will come up and ask if you want to create a new campaign or use an existing campaign. You want to create a new campaign because a PPE and a view content are two totally different types of ads, and so if you use the old campaign, it's just going to create another PPE ad for you. So duplicate the ad set within Power Editor, and then choose new campaign, name that campaign, and then choose the conversion event, which is now going to be choose the event to be conversions versus a PPE ad. Hopefully that makes sense.
So Autrip Dilla asks, what are the reasons for people they're adding to the cart and didn't make a purchase?
Yeah, great question.
This comes up all the time, Darren. So probably the biggest reason why folks add to the cart and don't follow through with the purchase is because it's the price of the product. In the case of a free plus shipping offer, maybe it wasn't apparent to them up front, they didn't realize it, or they didn't read that, yes, the item is free, you're literally giving it away, but they're taking exception to how much they have to pay for the shipping. So if the shipping is $9.95, perhaps that's a turnoff for them. Maybe they didn't see the value, maybe they didn't perceive the value of that product offering to be worth the shipping of $9.95. So I would look at the pricing, and then in case of a retail product, meaning you're charging whatever you're charging for your product, and then they get to the ad, they're getting to the checkout page, and for them to abandon that, maybe maybe they feel that the shipping is too much, or they got distracted. There's various reasons why people, or maybe the product offer wasn't enticing enough. You might consider adding to your store abandoned cart protector, so that you can hit them up again on the back end with a discount to entice them to come back to purchase. You might include an app that offers them an upsell. Hey, we noticed you left without making a purchase. How about we offer you free shipping if you order within the next 48 hours? I mean, there's different things you can do to entice them to go back to their abandoned cart and to complete the checkout process. So, but even before all that, position your product in the most enticing way possible with offering, test out, maybe instead of charging shipping, maybe position that price to charge a little bit more for that product, but then now you say free shipping. So for a lot of people, free shipping is what pushes them over the top, and then they'll go ahead and make that purchase. Darren, what you got to say?
No, I agree with everything that Roberto just said. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for it, and sometimes life just happens for people. They get distracted in the middle of the process. They forget to come back. Frankly, they could get back online and find it someplace. There's just a number of different reasons for it. So, make sure your message is consistent from the ad to your store and the description and all of that, so that people aren't taken by surprise. We don't ever list prices within the ad, but like Roberto was saying, sometimes they may, the nature of free plus shipping, if that's what's happening with yours, is that you're going to have a lot of add to carts. That's just the way it's going to happen, and people will get there and they'll see the shipping, and maybe they think it's too much. It's actually a good problem to have, because that means people are clicking through your ad, and they're getting to your store and they're adding product to the cart. So you could play around with a lot of different solutions to that. There's a number of different ways that you can do pricing on a free plus shipping offer. One is you can just go straight retail and go, say you're going to do a product for let's just say the end price is $9.95. You could say, okay, it's $9.95 and we're offering free shipping. You could say the product's free and then we're going to charge for shipping, and now shipping's $9.95. Or you could say the product's going to be $4.95 and then charge $4.95 for shipping, or something like that. So you can play around with that and I've heard plenty of stories where people tweaked their pricing model, depending on the product and what they were seeing happen in their store, and they went from like a free plus shipping to, well, I'm just going to offer the product for $4.95, and then I'm going to charge another $4.95 for shipping, and then suddenly things turned around and they started selling, and people didn't abandon it as much. So there's a lot of ways to do that. I don't know, Sean, did you want to comment on that particular one, or did you have something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. Just to give an example. It's something that y'all touched on great points, but just to more so emphasize, you're gonna naturally have high add to carts. Just kind of put yourself in the perspective of how many times have you looked at a product, or just to see how much it costs. How many times have you done that for yourself? How many times have you saved an ad? How many times have you been on Facebook and saved a video that you wanted to go back to? Perfect example. Yesterday I saw these shoes, and I love like dress shoes, boots, stuff like that. These boots, and I saw them, but I didn't buy them. I wanted to, but I just looked at them. But later today, I saw a retargeting ad. I was like on a different website, and they retargeted me because why? They expect that. So you need to gear yourself, like this guy is saying, gear yourself around people that can naturally abandon cart. Because some people aren't going to make that initial purchase unless it's that compelling of a product. Essentially, if it's that unique, so expect it. Because the thing is, we're in the ADHD or ADD, whatever you want to call it, society where we got so much going on, where people are trying to do 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, 15 things at once, and so it happens. So I just wanted to touch on that because I see it all the time in the group. People are asking, like, have high abandoned carts. What am I doing wrong? It might be something you have to tweak, but overall, you're always going to have a high number. So don't let that number, oh my goodness, I must be doing something wrong. Yes, if the pricing, if you feel like it's off, go ahead and tweak the price. If the shipping's off, go ahead and see if it tweaks. I've seen people succeed with. There's people out there that have crazy success with $4.95, $4.95, $4.95 plus shipping, and I've seen people kill it with $9.95 and no shipping. So I just want to emphasize on that. Moral of the story is what I'm saying is you're always gonna have a high add to cart. So really gear yourself around, fishing out those people who are targeting ads, looking like audiences, because there's nothing against you. They didn't know who you are unless your face is on your store. So that's all I wanted to say. Just expect it and plan to go ahead and fish out those people who are targeting ads and remarket back to them, because they might buy it because they might just weren't in the position to buy it. So
Yeah,
that's all I wanted to say.
no, it's great, and you should be, if you do it right, you should be able to recover, at least 10, if not 20% of those abandoned carts through an abandonment protector, retargeting, and that type of stuff. So,
If I can add just a point here, one thing that's not talked about too often is that in the initial stages of getting your store up and seasoning your pixel, you're going to have to, in some cases, be okay with having very little profit margins or barely break even, and sometimes taking a loss in terms of money coming in. But don't consider it a loss, because really what you're doing is you're training your pixels. So if you having people going to add to cart, that's a great problem to have, like Darren said, because now your pixel's getting smart. And I know some people will actually, after a while, I mean, they're like, bring it on. I love these add to carts. Well, nobody really loves them, but they capitalize on that, because now at some point the pixel's going to know and get smart and know which customers to go after that are more likely to add to cart. And then at some point it's really going to pay off, whereas they may not even have to run view content. They're going to do a PPE and then go straight to add to cart. So all is not lost when you have abandoned carts. You're actually, you may have heard it before, you're buying data. So that is where the true value of all this, what's going on with your pixel, with your store, I mean, eventually it really does pay off with training your pixel.
Perfect.
Cool. Hey, Ryan, your question here, and then Sean, I'm going to let you step in here. You're wondering what days of the week to run, if there's anything, preferred. I mean, it looks like you're on day 2, and you're wondering about the weekend. Yeah, just keep it running. I mean, there's obviously going to be slow day. The beginning of the week is typically slower. Mondays are typically slower days. But the weekend's good. There's a lot of activity on the weekend, so I definitely say keep those going. Doesn't really matter whether it's PPE or conversion. Let's see. Lang, clarify, when doing PPE ads, what combination should use website conversion, then how many days, and how much should be the frequency relevance score?
Oh,
Well, I don't know. The first question I'm a little confused about. I don't know if you guys understand that,
she
but
wants to know how many days should she run a website conversion or PPE. There's no set date. What we do is testing. What we do and what we recommend is you run a PPE or website conversion at least 3 to 4 days to give you data to kind of make your next move. After you run it, you have the ability to adjust on if it's people in this age group, or is it female or a male, or is it people that live in this country versus that country. But the recommendation, there's no absolute, you have to run it 3 to 4 days. You want to run it where you have enough data to make a decision on how you should adjust. Because if you're starting on PPE, what I usually do, I start 18 to 65 or 21 to 65, and after 3 to 4 days, if I'm unsure about it, I'll start that broad. After 3 to 4 days, I'll look at the data and I'll go ahead and analyze it, and I'll go ahead and make a decision. Okay, cool. I don't have to target people from 18 to 65. Now I can use my dollar, my dollar much more wiser, where I can only target people that are 25 to 34 because Facebook told me they're more engaged. So therefore, you have more likelihood to go ahead and get more click-through ratio, a better relevancy score. This is going back to what you're saying. You're buying data so you know how to make the next move. This is chess. It's not checkers. So that right there is what I would have your. That's what I would say towards that.
yeah, there's another one in there too. So frequency is basically tells you how many times the same person's seen your ad. So if you start getting more than just a little bit over one, that's when the same people are starting to see the ad more than once. I think the numbers are somewhere around above like 1.1, 1.2, if I'm not mistaken. So look for that. Relevancy score, ideally 8 to 10. 7 is acceptable, although you're starting to get into a gray area there, questionable territory. Definitely below 7, you need to reevaluate the audience and your targeting because you're not hitting the right people for that particular product. So keep that in mind. But ideally 8, 9, 10, that's where you want to be on relevance score. So
yeah, Darren, absolutely. So I'm glad that relevancy score was brought up because we hadn't touched on that yet. So if you're running, say, that PPE, and then it's a relevancy score that's not, maybe it's like a 4 or something low, then when you go to duplicate, at that point, as you go through that duplication process to bring it up to a view content, then you may consider changing up that targeting, and then analyze that data a day or two later and see if your relevancy score has gone up. So,
cool.
Good point.
Awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to let Sean take over. Thank you so much. And yeah, Roberto and Sean will carry you through.
Thanks, Darren.
Carry you through the finish line.
Okay, so next question here. And by the way, we appreciate those hearts that you're sending out and the likes.
All right, let me read this out loud. So, KO, hope I said the first name right. You said, what if we run a PPE campaign for 3 to 5 days? If it gets a lot of likes and shares, but it only has a few clicks to the product, should we still try website conversion, ad for view content? Yeah, I would definitely do that. That's more so the purpose of it. It'd be awesome to get a whole bunch of click-throughs if you were doing PPE. But again, the objective, whatever the objective is, that's essentially what you're sending Facebook to go ahead and do. But if you get extra, if you get a purchase, if you get a bonus of people clicking through or they purchase something, awesome. But I would definitely do it because the thing is, the objective for a PPE is to, if I'm scrolling and I see a post that has 1 million likes or 1 million comments or 20,000 shares, curiosity, just going from a consumer perspective, I'm going to more than likely see what, especially if it interests me, I want to go ahead and see what it's about. So that's more so objective. So it did its job. Yes, I want you to go. I would recommend for you to do that. That's something you definitely want to do. So that means your target audience is pretty neck and neck as far as who you were targeting for. So yeah, I would definitely do so.
Seal Moon, has anyone noticed add to cart ad and add to cart objective doing better than purchase conversion? Yeah, there's plenty of people out there who they've had the experience of the add to cart producing good results, and they've gone on to duplicate to a purchase, and for some reason or another, maybe through Facebook quirky ways has resulted in less sales with the add to cart rather than with the less sales with the purchase conversion than the add to cart. Why is that? There's multiple reasons, but a lot of us attribute that to just the weird way sometimes that Facebook behaves. And for that reason, how I mentioned earlier, as if you're having results with an add to cart, for example, and you duplicate to a purchase, leave, as long as your add to cart is profitable, leave it running, even if it's barely profitable, and run and experiment with that purchase. And if purchase takes off and you start getting great sales, I would still leave the add to cart running as long as it's profitable. Yeah. So good question. Terry, I'm not sure what you said about my PPE, but I'll take it. Thanks for your interaction.
Cindy, you the real MVP. I'm using two versions.
Okay, let's see. We're looking for.
At which state would you recommend? All right, let me read this out loud. So Anna, she says, at which state of a campaign would you recommend running split tests? Are there successful campaigns that never really have split tests incorporated into the launch plan? I think I know what you're talking about. Right when you go ahead and make the ad and you place the order and it asks if you want to split test it or not. Personally, I have not tested that feature out, but I would assume, my assumption on it is it gives you the ability to test different tweaks on, it gives you the same data that you just made with the original ad, and you can tweak certain things within that same ad, but you can duplicate it. Maybe if you want to target different demographics of ages, you can target the same audience and the same demographics. You can maybe tweak little things here and there to kind of see which one works. But I haven't personally used it, but like I said, I encourage and I would encourage you to test that out and give us feedback on your results on it. But personally, I haven't used it. But you guys have anything to say about that? No.
Erlen Shahini asks, is $5 a day ads good? Of course, that's the teachings here. It's found to be a price point that virtually anyone can afford, running a $5 a day ad. Heck, we even heard of people running $3 day ads when budgets are really tight, and you just want to, you want to be in action and not at a standstill. I mean, if you have to do $3 a day ads, or in some cases, people have a lot in their budget. They can afford a lot more than $5, but $5 is a great place to be for most people, and $3, even for those with a big budget, can be okay too if you feel that your pixel is mature and you don't care to be spending any more than $5. You might go with $3 and try something out. It's all about testing and experimenting. So yeah, the short answer, $5 is good. And then Terry Blythe, do I use the same audience, 5 million for the PPE for a web conversion? No. You want to look at your data. Where's the interaction coming from which countries, from which age groups, from which devices, and then duplicate based on that information to your view content, and then you can change the audience up a bit in that regard, and you'll see that what was a 5 million target audience is now narrowed down to probably 800,000, or maybe even a little less, maybe a lot less, because as you start to take away different countries or different age groups, that audience starts to shrink, and when it shrinks, that's when to the sweet spot that we call between 200,000 and 800,000, when it shrinks to that range, then you're likely to have better, your chances of conversions are greater at that point.
Yeah, you're targeting a lot more passionate people, so obviously you can, but essentially you want to find a lot more passionate people than you are. But that's great that you got sales on your PPE.
Well, look at that. He says he's had 30+ sales for that PPE. So as long as it's profitable, you might just consider leaving the PPE running while you, like we've talked about before, go to view content with even a more targeted audience, and then it would stand to reason you will continue to make sales. Leave that PPE up, continue to make sales on the view content, probably more of them. So good on you for that. That's great.
Don't stop what's working. Double down. Yeah. Thanks for that, bro.
Bobby Joe, you're very welcome.
What's going on, Steven? Pat? Pat Dunn, what's going on, man?
Good to see you, Pat.
Right?
Pat's having great success. Keep going, Pat.
I'm coming to Ohio for the barbecue. Good. Should I test some more? And again, in what does it say? Erlen, like, I feel like we kind of addressed that, but to kind of give a little bit of why, as far as why we kind of test for $5 a day. You test for $5 a day versus $100 a day. $5 a day, Facebook's gonna be more strategic on who it shows it to. So you can use $100 a day. No one's saying you can't, but what we want is when we get the most precise data from Facebook, so we know who to target versus we give Facebook $100 and they kind of guess, oh, I'm gonna try these people. I'm gonna try these people. But if I have $5, Facebook's gonna strategically use it a lot more than 100. So that's the reason why we do what we do as far as the $5 a day budget and duplicate that into multiple $5 a day budgets. So.
Well, keep it going, guys. Hey, listen, we've got about another 5, maybe 10 minutes at most. We appreciate the interaction. We're having lots of fun, and let's move forward. We'll try to get as many as we can. Otrip Dilla asks, I think he's asking, like, how do you know when to just kill the ad? All right then. When after duplicating, I will give it a chance after duplicating. If you're just not getting the sales, maybe a lot of abandoned carts or low interaction. Yeah, it comes a point where you have to know when you're spending too much money on these ads and when to let them go. Absolutely, good question. So if it's not profitable, then at some point you have to just come to terms with maybe that wasn't the winning product. We all go through that. I've had plenty of them, and everyone who is saying they've had some great success in this business, chances are when you really interview them and get down to it, they've had 1 out of every 10 products, or 1 out of 20, or 1 out of 50. You just don't know, so you have to keep testing.
Major key is to keep launching different products on a consistent basis, launching different ads, multiple ads. I mean, if your budget allows that to be for you guys, but yeah,
I agree.
Wow, Ryan Habib says, you're very welcome. He ran a PPE video, and after 24 hours, he had a reach of 1,023.
nice.
That's good, and a relevancy score of 8. It's nice, but hardly any likes or comments or shares.
Oh, so you ran a PPE. Oh, you ran a video, so you got those are most compensated for the views. Okay, I get what you're saying. Would you cut the ad off? So after 24 hours, again, like I said, what we recommend and what we do, we don't like to make premature decisions. What I don't do at least, is I want to give the ad at least 3 days for a PPE ad. Because the thing is, again, I like to go ahead and identify what these things really mean. A campaign, when you go ahead and make a campaign, and you make a PPE ad, if you get sales on that, awesome. If you get click-through through that, awesome. But the objective for a PPE ad, and when you say as engagement, is to get that engagement, that post page engagement. You want to get likes, you want to get shares, you want to get views, and you don't want to necessarily make a decision off a PPE ad. Now, if you run a conversion ad for 3 to 5 days and you get nothing, not even 1 sale, then you need to go ahead and figure out who you're targeting. Is it the right audience? And definitely want to turn it off. So just definitely understand when you're going in and making an ad, you're making a PPE, your goal is not to get sales. If you do get sales, awesome. But the goal when you're making a PPE is to make your ad look, give it that social proof, give it that curiosity to click on it, for people to click on it when they have, when you have your conversion ad on. Because after you duplicate it into a conversion ad, it's gonna have, you want to have it where it's at 100 likes or 1,000 or 50 comments or whatever may be shared, so people click on it. So really know the difference and know the objective behind it. So don't turn out PPE ad after 24 hours. It's premature. That's what I would say to that.
Great question.
Agreed. Hey, Cindy Cortez, thanks for being with us today.
Hey,
Some love.
Ecom
Some
Rob.
love.
And Lelang Velarde says he has 789 likes worldwide, PPE ads. Okay, so it looks like he started with the PPE. He's got a lot of likes, and on worldwide, we would expect that. And it says that he has a bunch from Indonesia. That's expected. A lot of times those other countries, third world countries, will have a lot of participants on social media, and perhaps in some of those places of the world, social media is still kind of a new thing. So it's
It's a lot cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper clicks. And in the case of PPE, that's a good thing, right? So we're getting that social proof for lower costs than in the top 5 countries like the U.S., UK, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia.
Mhm.
So a lot less per,
It's a lot
cost.
more. It's a lot more expensive. So to kind of put that in terms, to re-emphasize on it, United States has had Facebook a lot longer. So therefore, Facebook database for the thousands of employees that work there, it's higher on a totem pole on how much it costs. So therefore, let's just say Indonesia, let's say they got Facebook a year ago. It's a lot more cheaper. So therefore, Facebook is gathering data. They don't really care because they're trying to gather data. So therefore, Facebook is going to make that a lot more cheaper because it's so new to the market versus the United States. People know, okay, people are likely to buy. They have over 7, 8, however long Facebook's been around, since 2004, that data to go ahead and price it at, okay, Facebook per click is worth this. So
Facebook is your friend, yeah. And like you said, Facebook they love the whole idea behind Facebook. They just love interactions. They love people being social.
Mhm.
So they already know that in those countries, man, people are all over it. They're clicking, they're liking, they're commenting, they're sharing. So they are your Facebook is your helper in this regard, and so they're going to give you all these cheap clicks, which is good for the objective that you chose, which was PPE. And then it says view content, 7 clicks in the United States. That's to be expected again because Facebook favors clicks for people who are more apt, more likely to click, and it went out to those countries. So that's not to say that the 7 clicks are worthless that you got from the United States. It's just the way that Facebook operates. Should he change the audience interest? And because the USA is his target.
you can, it's a
Too
PPE.
early to tell. It's a PPE.
Yeah, like I said, the re-emphasize, I probably touched on it. It's a PPE ad, so therefore you're going for the likes and comments. Now, if you're going for people that are more likely to buy, then switch the audience to just people countries that you feel like that are most likely to buy. So PPE is doing its job. Website conversion ad, if you want to target certain countries that are likely to buy, then go ahead and do that. Let's see, you want to read one off?
Pat done. Okay. How much money should we reserve for
Started.
ad money? I just started.
I do it.
Well, if you haven't watched from the beginning, also for those that are just coming on, rewatch this replay. But just to re-emphasize again, if you're just starting, we recommend $5 a day. Just a low enough budget for you to kind of test different products and launch ads to begin with. So $5 a day would probably be a start, and also you could do $3 a day ads.
You can go low as $1.
Yeah, you can go low as $1 if you want, but we recommend, and what we've been, taught by different mentors here at Techademics is $5 a day.
Ball on the budget, I've been there, so.
Yeah. Let's see. So that's for Antonio. Marie. So I'm butchering your last name. Polganoff. My store open 3 weeks. 53 abandoned carts, $7.95 shipping, only 1 sale. Not sure what to do.
My first question for that is how many products have you tested? Number 1, and number 2, have you tried to adjust the pricing on that? So that if you have time, or if not on this live, put it in the group. As far as the question, telling us how many products you tested and have you tried to adjust? Because then again, our whole emphasis, if you had to write one thing down right now, out of this whole thing, you need to get good, watch these videos, and get good at reading your data, because that's where the real money is made. If you start broad, you need to start broad, and then after 3 to 5 days, whatever, to view content PPE, look at your data so you know who's most engaged, because you want to get precise on spending your dollar. So that right there is the emphasis. Get good at reading data. Get good at he's clicking through more than this country or that country or this demographic, guy, girl, 25, 55. And that's how you're going to be more successful when it comes to this thing, when it comes down to abandoned carts or sales. So that's what I've said about that.
Yeah, and I would recommend, Marie, that if you don't already have an abandoned cart protector, that you get one, because 53 abandoned carts is high. it would be very worth your while to have an abandoned cart protector to capture some of those. In the meantime, without it, so you have the 53. Even if you add that abandoned cart protector today, there's no way to go back to capture those through the app. However, you could, because you've already captured the emails. Yeah, you can manually offer them an incentive to come back. For instance, you might say something like, "Hey, we noticed you left without making the purchase. We still have your product on the shelf. But name that product." Okay, and as a matter of fact, you might even take a picture of that product and send it in the email so that they can remember, oh yes, I did leave that heart pendant and I didn't make the purchase. Because like Sean said, there's multiple reasons why people abandon the cart. Now, here, I doubt that all 53 life got in the way and they left. There's something going on with your ad, within your store perhaps, but the point is, reach back out to those 53 people with the personalized email. Hey Marie, I noticed that you left without purchasing the heart pendant. We still have it on the shelf, and we'd rather than restock it, we'd love to offer you 20% off for the next for you to come back and purchase it. So something like that, I think can convert some of those abandoned carts. I don't know what the percentage would be, but you're likely to capture some, and some is better than none, right?
Mm-hmm. Both what we said right there. Those are both great answers, and merge those and do it and test it and apply it and let us know how it goes. So I would say that. I would say we take one more question, and then we're gonna have to go ahead and wrap it up together, and then we'll kind of leave off on emphasis on what to take away from this whole Q&A as far as what we touched on.
So how do you make it pop? This is a question from Raina Tahiti. So how do you make an ad pop if you cannot do free plus shipping but only retail?
I don't get that.
Plus retail price plus shipping.
Yeah, if you could rephrase that and put it as a question in the group, that'd be awesome. More detail. I hear PPE videos from people. Go ahead.
I hear PPE video from people have high reach. Is it because they use a worldwide audience?
Oh, yeah, that absolutely. So a PPE, the intent is to have far, broad reach on it to build a social proof. So if you go worldwide, then yeah, that will have a higher reach.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose that's the answer you're looking for. If not, again, post your question in the group and we'll clarify on that. And real quick, Sarvi Van Maris, what is PPE? That stands for post-page
Engagement?
Yeah, post-page engagement. So as we covered a little bit early in the broadcast, that's an objective the whole idea behind a PPE is to get social proof, build social proof so that when you finally change the objective to view content, you're going now with an ad that has social proof on it, and any ads with social proof have more credibility to them and would help a prospective customer feel more comfortable knowing that this ad's been around, people are liking it. It just makes you feel good about it. Just think about it like when Sean was talking about, when you go out looking for products and something catches your eye, if you see that people have liked it, commented on it, shared it, there's credibility to that, and it makes you feel more comfortable should you decide to purchase. So going back to how when people have a lot of abandoned carts as high as 53 and all that, one thing I forgot to mention is I think you should really consider, I think it's imperative that everyone do a test purchase on their own store to make sure that the checkout process is the way it's designed to be. Smooth, seamless, everything flows through, payment processor works and all that. So we're not going to get into how to do that, but you can go and do a Google search for, or rather even within Shopify, there's help features in there. It shows you how to process a test payment, a test purchase right there in Shopify, and then make sure that all that works.
Yeah,
Test and test your links. Absolutely, test your links. Make sure that they're pointing to the right places and everything works smoothly. So if you haven't done that already, please do so immediately.
Okay, well there we go. we kind of emphasized on the conversion ads. Hope this is very helpful and compelling to kind of give you direction on what to do, but kind of give a highlight. Like I said, there's no real date on how much you should spend. 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days is what we do in recommendations to kind of give ourselves a decision whether we should go on with an ad. So get out there, get testing it, and get good at reading your data, and that's really what's going to help you go to the next level when you're able to go ahead and decipher who's engaging your ad versus the other. So that's all I have to say about that. Anybody got anything to add?
That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. Stay plugged in. Post your questions as often as you need to. And they're in our Facebook group. Be a little patient. There's thousands, literally over like 25,000 people in this group. We do our best to get all your questions handled. And with that, it's a wrap, folks.
That's another thing. Like he said, we have a lot of people in the group. So make sure your questions are precise and it benefits not only yourself, but people that might have the same questions. So make sure you're answering very precisely. So until then.
See you guys.